Hi everybody, Dr. Chris Hoff here, and it's time for another kitchen table therapy talk. And today we're talking about what is the role of the therapist if you want to practice from a post-structuralist, postmodern, collaborative, or narrative therapy position. As far as I know, it was Michael White, the co-creator of what is now known as narrative therapy, that coined the term decentered but influential when describing the role of the therapist or the therapeutic position one would take in these more collaborative ways of working. I think there's a large misconception about the decentered influential stance from those practicing outside of the collaborative framework. I have, over time, had to correct people's impressions that collaborative or post-structuralist therapists don't really do anything, that we're passive and inconsequential in our therapeutic positioning. This is a big misunderstanding. Michael White was clear that decentered did not refer to the intensity of the therapist's engagement with people seeking our help, but to the therapist's intention to prioritize and center people's stories, experiences, knowledges, and skills. White also taught that a decentered but influential therapist is influential not in the sense of imposing an agenda or interventions, but by being engaged in questions and lines of inquiry that scaffold rich alternative stories, explore neglected terrain of lives, and bring forward skills and knowledges that will be used to address the problems at hand, the problems that people are bringing in. White also believed that the decentered but influential stance could support therapists in other ways. He believed that therapists that centered themselves in the work were vulnerable either to being too centered and influential, which could lead to burnout or experiences of burden, or if they were centered and not influential, this could lead to experiences of exhaustion. Many therapists I've worked with have also struggled with this idea because they read it as not having a place for their experience or knowledge in the work. It leaves them unsure where they stand in the relationship with those who seek our help. One way I have attempted to counter this understanding is to share with these therapists that every conversation has a center, located between the participants of the conversation. And often our clients will invite us into the center. This may be done by them asking our opinions, for our impressions, even for our advice. I believe it is our relational responsibility to inhabit that center at their request. I just caution new therapists or even old therapists that when invited into the center, be sure not to camp out there. Another way I make clear our participation in the therapeutic process is to point out how post-structuralist and collaborative therapy is driven by questions and inquiry. So rather than being passive, this way of working is very directive. Any good radical therapist knows there's no such thing as a neutral question. So in the decentered but influential stance, we need to be clear about our social location, our biases, and our own subjectivity to societal and cultural discourse. The decentered but influential stance requires a level of vigilance that is anything but passive. Finally, it is in the decentered but influential approach where I find the art of therapy, in our question development and delivery. So rather than sidelining us in the work, the decentered but influential stance is invigorating of the therapist and the therapy, restoring the personal agency of those who seek our help and for those doing the helping. This has been another edition of Kitchen Table Therapy Talks. I'm Dr. Chris Hoff. Find me at radicaltherapist.com, the Radical Therapist Podcast, and of course on YouTube. And please share, like, subscribe, whatever. And as always, peace.